Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 360 podcast. This is Ken, and I'm here to have tough conversations with you. Last time we promised we were going to look at masculinity, and this time round, we want to focus on the lost boys generation. I would like to start us off by sharing a small story about what happened to me this morning. I have two boys, one girl, and my firstborn, Jazzy, and Jude, they came over to my bedroom and said, "Hey, Dad, can we fix you breakfast?" And I was like, "Okay, yes. Guys, go ahead, fix me breakfast." Because Mom had left and we were just Dad and the kids. And I did not think they can actually fix me breakfast. So guess what they fixed me? They got me a Spanish omelette laced with capsicum, bacon, onions, tomatoes. It was colorful. You need to see the picture of that meal. In fact, I took a picture and I sent it to my wife. I was so impressed. My son Jersey is 11 years. Jude is 9 years. And as he took my phone and called Mom, Mom was in the salon, and she was surprised to see that these boys can actually fix their dad breakfast. And the girl was happy. She did do nothing. And this is the conversation we want to have today. Are gender roles shifting? How well are we preparing these boys and girls for the future? Because things are changing and we need to lace up our boots and have this conversation. I want to share with you one of the reports that has caught my attention lately. And one of my good friends and colleagues sent me a report that I want to base this conversation on. We have the Center for Social Justice, an organization based in UK that deals with social issues affecting the United Kingdom. And for the first time, we have empirical evidence on the problem of the boy child. For many, many days, years on end, we have a lot of anecdotal evidence on what is happening with the boy child. But for once, we are seeing that this is a problem that is cutting across not just generations, but also races, continents, and all ages. But today, let us narrow down on these lost boys. So they have written a report that has sparked a national debate, actually a global debate, on where is the place of the boy child. We have had great programs that are supporting the empowerment of girls across the world, and we support them. And by the way, I disclaim, I'm a public health specialist, and we are very keen on making sure that we don't lose the gains that you have seen in gender equity. We are keen on bringing the women to where they should be and give them agency, because you have had a lot of historical exclusion and marginalization of women, from voting to so many other things I don't want to delve into right now. But again, we do not want to lose the boy child. We do not want to bequeath the future with boys who are not ready, or weakened boys. We are seeing a lot of emasculation and emancipation of the boy child, and we need to start thinking about the systemic issues around this conversation. I want to say that we have had a lot of economic shifts globally, from economic depression to the pandemic 2019 all the way to 2023. It was a big thing across the world. We have seen political shifts, and right now we can see more men and more women competing for political office. As a matter of fact, Rwanda's half of the parliamentarians are women. We are seeing several presidential candidates being women, including one of the most powerful states in the world. They had a presidential candidate who was a woman. And we are seeing more women getting into C-suite positions. And we are also encouraging the boys to stand up and style up. But now back to this subject, as per the report that was shared by the Center of Social Justice based in the UK. They are telling us that there is a surge of, or rather there are increasing numbers of boys or males between 15 and 24 who are not in employment, not in education, not in training, and that number has increased by 40% since the pandemic. And I mean COVID-19, that's 2020, in the last 5 years. So there's been an increase of boys who are not in school and not keen on getting jobs. Whereas, on the other hand, we have women by a very small margin, only 7% increase if you look at the females in Britain. And if we are to use this data and translate it or project it to the globe, then you will see we have a problem, not just in UK. It's actually from UK to Africa, Australia to US, China to South America. We need to have this conversation. Why is it that the boys are not seeking employment? If you look at the unemployment rates in this country, and let me talk about Africa first. We have 1 billion people in Africa. We have 200 million of those being young people between the ages of 15 and 24. The average age of Kenyans, the average age of Africa is 19. And also that's a median age. And you find 60% of these young men and women are not employed. And that informs why we had the Gen Z movement last year, which spread like bushfire in Africa and other parts in the Middle East and other places. So we have to ask ourselves, how is Kenya doing? Again, Kenya, according to the Federation of Kenyan Employers, FKE, again, we have a high unemployment rate, 12.7% unemployment rate. And they further say, out of the young generation, those between 15 and 34 years, 67% of them are unemployed. And we are seeing a lot of data and empirical evidence from that report showing that when men are not employed or when men are underemployed, then the mental health illnesses increase significantly and marriageability reduces significantly. Have you heard of the Gen Z says that they fear 3 things? They fear Ujimoto. They are scared of marriage as well, because of the changing dynamics, economic, political, tectonic shifts. And we want to have this conversation right now. So we are seeing a lot of shifts in the work environment. And I would like to say that gone are the days when some vocations were ring-fenced for particular genders. Right now, if you look at the work environment, we have jobs in agriculture, manufacturing, engineering, construction have been dominated by the male gender for a long time. In fact, in the UK economy, these jobs were contending for 40% of the entire UK GDP. And this has reduced to 16%, meaning we are having less and less needs for such jobs. And this is also complicated by the rise of artificial intelligence, which is threatening the manual jobs and the very repetitive jobs. If you look at the Netflix conversation by Barack Obama on the future of work, knowledge workers are going to survive. So we need to stop thinking about manual jobs and physical jobs, and we need to start thinking of what other jobs can you do behind or beyond what you can do physically, because our forefathers depended on masculinity and strength and muscle to move things. But increasingly right now, we are all hunting for jobs on LinkedIn. We are no longer in that race where we are looking at muscle and physicality, unless you're looking at sports. I would like to also share that the skills that are required in the corporate environment right now are beyond physical skills. Right now, the hard skills, as much as they matter, soft skills do matter. Emotional intelligence is critical. I would like to mention that in my career, I actually report to a female boss, and I have a good boss at that. And I have a dotted line to a male boss. And I've seen the strengths of having men and women being at the leadership. It brings in a lot of leadership and rich substance. And when I look back at my career in former workplaces where I've reported to women, I have seen that my attention to detail has increased. I think men are naturally endowed to look at the big picture, but we usually don't like sweating the small stuff. And probably that's why we have been wired by our social upbringing, because girls will be told to go and wash dishes, cook breakfast for dad like I had this morning. They will be told to do so many things, so many small chores that dads and boys never think about. And this is the inheritance we have taken over all these years. And you find now these jobs set these girls for corporate jobs. You find these girls are now thriving in the corporate sector because we are keen on the profit and loss margins, which want you to look at some details. We want to have negotiations that call for emotional intelligence. Now, when we do not look at those nuances, then we can easily lose the boy child and start saying that, oh, the boy child is unemployable. But how well have we prepared the boy child for these conversations? How well are we preparing the boy child for interviews? We have had many interview sessions, and sometimes I get appalled when I see a girl waxing lyrical in an interview. And I compare that to some boys and men who are young, who are entering the job market. And one thing I'm realizing, sometimes these girls beat the boys on communication. Yes, we know men naturally do not communicate. You'd rather want to watch a game of Man U and Arsenal playing, hey, hi, Arsenal guys. Man U might be on the top of the league. I'm a Man U fan. I would rather watch football with my wife as opposed to look at her and have a conversation. For a man, you need hubris to just sit down and look at a man or a woman on their eyes and have a conversation. We prefer looking or driving and have a conversation, or look at the television set and then you can have a conversation, because that's how we are wired. We want to do things as we talk, but not sitting down and looking. So you find we need to look at how can we strengthen the boy child to increase our communication skills. Because even our forefathers, when they were married, there was nothing like pickup lines. They would just get a girl and tell them, I'm just going to get game for you, whether it's a rabbit or a gazelle or a goat. There was very little communication. So communication is becoming a big thing in the corporate sector, in the development sector, and we need to develop the boy child for that. I would like to say that I think that is an area where girls have an edge over boys in communication. So jobs require soft skills. Does it not baffle you that the CEO of EABL is a woman, yet we think men are the ones who drink more? But again, the board in the EABL thought we need this woman who is very keen on details, and she's going to drive the sales of EABL. You can imagine, imagine a man should be the CEO for Kenya Breweries Limited or East Africa Breweries Limited, and the ties are changing. So we need to work on the soft skills, attention to details. And I want to salute my bosses back in the day who helped me focus on attention to details. And that is a muscle that is defining the workplace and favoring the girl child. And we want the boys to start being engaged in small chores at home so that they can also start building that muscle, including washing dishes. In my house right now, it is mandatory, and I'm sure one of my friends who is a gender activist is happy when I say this. They need to wash their dishes after dinner, because I'm seeing the kind of women they will marry in the next 20 years. I need to prepare my sons and daughters for that life. So having looked at the work shifting environment, I want now to delve down a little bit to education. Again, centering back to the Center of Social Justice report, which is also saying that in the GCSE exams, the girls are outperforming boys on all subjects. Imagine that. For the longest time, we thought men were outperforming girls, but right now the tide is changing. There's a shift in education and performance. And right now, girls are doing better. And that's the Cambridge exam. And if you narrow down to the A levels where they take 3 subjects and specialize in them, the girls are still doing better. In fact, in the O levels, the girls are doing a tad better by half a grade, averagely. And in the A level exams, the girls are outperforming the boys by a grade and a half. This means that the girls are set up for success in higher learning institutions. That means they will do better courses, they will be in postgraduate courses, they will also be in fellowship courses out there, and they are set up for success because the foundation matters for these courses that you want to do in higher institutions of learning. And that's a staggering statistic from that report. And that report can be extrapolated to reflect what's happening in Africa, what's happening in the US. In fact, in the US, over 60%, I would say more than half of the postgraduate courses are filled by women. We have a surge of girls enrolling in these courses, and the boys are not as many as you'd want in the master's programs and in the PhD programs. And then the question is, why is it so? Does it mean boys want jobs that are giving you quick money? Because women are resilient, and even all the way from conception, actually from the X chromosome and the Y chromosome, the male sperm runs so fast and dies fast. The female sperm, on the other hand, is more resilient, is larger and lasts longer. And it is interesting how the boy child has suffered over time, including the days of Pharaoh, when the king ordered all the kids to be, he issued a decree for all the boys who were born at that time to be killed, but Moses survived in his household. Very interesting story. Fast forward the New Testament, you find the King Herod also did not want any boy to survive because he suffered insecurity. Mark you. All men suffer insecurity, including presidents. Presidents look for identity. I'll talk about that later. I think it is important to note that we need more research as to why the boy child is not investing in education as much. Could it be? And I talked to one university professor who gave me a very interesting thought, which I want to share with you. He said that girls are linear learners. Boys are clustered learners. A girl can sit down for the whole day and listen to the teacher. A boy, on the other hand, will be a bit fidgety. He'll want to touch this water bottle. He'll want to move around. He cannot just sit for 2 hours. And that does not mean that the boy is dumb. No, he isn't dumb. It's just the way the boys are wired to be active, to be moving right from the sperm, from the sperm, very active. And even when a woman is pregnant with child, if she is pregnant with a boy, her energy requirements are higher. Boys are balls of energy. Even look at how they are competitive in sports. But how come is it that boys are not doing well in class? What is the issue? What exactly is making boys not do well? Why do they feel undervalued? Why are they underperforming? Why are they being outperformed by girls? And not that we want girls not perform better, we want all these genders to perform well. So that's a point that we need to ponder about. And we might need to rethink the education system and see to it that we can design systems that allow boys and girls to thrive and compete well in a way that will bring out their manhood, their courage, their oomph. Because the oomph is what is lacking in some of our boys. I was emceeing an event in a sports event in my daughter's and son's school. And I wanted to keep people busy and have guys dance. And I said, out of the boys and girls in school, who wants to come forward and dance? Believe you me, I kid you not, I got 6 girls running to the front. The boys sat pretty and they were thinking, dancing is not my thing. Girls are very quick to volunteer, but boys were taking their time. And when you are quick to volunteer, then you are on the path to leadership and service, and that's how you grow even into executive leadership. So how do we start changing the mindset of our boys to start volunteering and to show active engagement in class, asking questions, challenging ideas? And that moves me to the next shift. In fact, that day, by the way, before I move the next shift, I would like to tell you I was so tempted to bribe the boys. And I said, I have a 500 shillings note for the boy who will come here and dance. And that's the way I was able to get one boy. Does it mean maybe boys want to look at the economic value of everything they're doing? But we need to start asking ourselves, why are boys not just showing up? Even in leadership positions in primary school, girls are showing up faster. We have to tackle this, and we need to start having these conversations in every primary school, in every high school. Let's call out the boy child. But again, we also need to address the root causes. And now I want to move swiftly to the next segment. Have you also realized within the social and political divide, we have a political shift? For the longest time, men have been traditionally the ones who are speaking up for the weak. But my attention is caught last year where, of course, we had a few boys that were leading the Gen Z movement in Kenya. But my eye was caught, and I was impressed by a girl who stood up to a policeman who was male and told her, "Why are you arresting me? You should not arrest me. I've done nothing wrong." I kid you not, if I was the one who was being approached by this policeman, going by the way we were brought up back in the day due to the old regimes where we bought fear, I would have accepted to be handcuffed and go to jail, and then that's what I'll be calling everybody, my friends and colleagues, "Hey, guys, send me 10,000 shillings, I need to pay cash bill." I think we were not taught to stand up for our rights, but you are finding that girls are now engaging in the political scene. They are fearless. The boys are fearless, the girls are actually coming up. So the boys are being challenged. The girls are more liberal, but the boys would want us to stick to the traditional mentality. And the question is, should we stick to that? What are those unique capabilities and abilities do we need to keep, and which ones do we need to change? Because you can see the economic and political dimensions are shifting. Point to ponder. And in that report, the report shares that half of the population in Britain are actually saying that the men are feeling as though their position is being attacked, and they are saying the women and empowerment agenda has been taken so far. But could we also ask ourselves, is it that we have not prepared the boy child for the future in the way we should? We have prepared the girl child for the future, but we are hardly empowering and preparing the boy child for the future. So we have an identity crisis. 3 out of 4 people who commit suicide are men. And there are 3 times more men than women who commit suicide. In as much as we have 3 times more women than men attempting suicide. I hope you got those statistics. Meaning when a man says, "I want to commit suicide," you have to take him seriously. Because he sets his eyes on it, he'll do it. And you need to call 911 and SOS and 999 in Kenya and call everyone and go there and save that life. But when a woman says, "I want to kill myself," probably she might not 3/4 of the time, but you need to also send help. And that shows the mental predisposition of men when it comes to the changes in the work and school environments. We have had boys and girls trying to commit suicide over education, but if you look at the boy child, and now with the changing tides in the workplace where now girls are even out earning men, as evidence in the same report, you need to catch your eyes on that report. Let me tell you, we need to start asking ourselves and training the young generation on how to handle some of these issues with confidence, because evidence shows that when a man earns less than a woman, he is not as confident as he should in running a marriage. And that's the reality in our economy right now. If you look at the number of children who are growing without dads, because this is one of the reasons why we are seeing this challenge. 96% of the people in prison are males. And when you look at the children in custody, the juveniles, 76% of them, and this is according to the report from Britain, say that they had an absent father. So you find there are no role models for these boys to retain their mental health and to focus on what is required. Don't you realize it's interesting to note that in that very report from the Center of Social Justice, it is written that a boy might have access to a smartphone more than access to a dad. So in a literal sense, who is parenting? Who is giving mentorship to the boys? Are we there as dads to take care of these boys? We have abdicated our responsibilities and left them to artificial intelligence, phones and gadgets to train our kids. And that's why violence has increased. And that's why our sons are going to prison, doing things that they should not have done because there was no one to mentor them. You cannot blame them. The system has failed to take care of these young men and women too, but today I'm focusing on the men. When a dad is absent, so many things go wrong. Right now, boys, as per that report, and I think this is a mirror for the whole globe, they are now taking steroids. They want to go to the gym and work hard and build muscle. Of course, you all want to look good. Who doesn't want to look good, especially as you go to teenage? You want to see those pecs, triceps and everything bulging because you want to see the girls and you're happy they want the girls. That's another conversation. We don't want boys to look for boys. We want girls to look at them. But boys should not go to the extent of getting testosterone at 13. Actually, testosterone starts to reduce from age 30 at 1% per year. You might need to think about such supplements maybe when you're at 40, going to 50, and not even the hormone itself. But maybe supplementing your diet. But now look at it this way. Teenagers at 13 are already engaging with steroids because they want to rekindle their masculinity because they are confused. We are in an identity crisis. They do not know what to look out for, and the only thing they know they can beat the girls for, if they are looking at beating girls, is to look masculine to attract them and show vitality and strength and masculinity. But is that the definition of manhood that we want? I'll be talking about what is healthy masculinity in a while, and what is toxic on the other hand.